Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. We enter week 9, Andy, with some bangers. We have ourselves some games this week. There are 4 really good, really high leverage games, and then just a cacophony of shower farts.
It is.
There is amazing and terrible this week.
There's a song that my 9, he's 9 now. My son makes me play once in a while because he knows I know how to find it on Spotify, and it's from the film The Captain Underpants movie. And it is you're familiar with the 1812 Overture?
Yes.
William Tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the ending, the closing,
Yep.
But it's that with farts because that's hilarious to children. I mean, it's still, every time he does it, just giggles. That's what this week is. It is just Fart City. There's so many
incredible.
There's a bunch of games where I don't fully understand, and I think people who say they can make good numbers on some of these games are maybe kidding themselves, because there's so many quarterbacks that it's going to be really hard to actually judge. Even some of the quarterbacks we've gotten to see already, including the Heineke's, we got to see Levis last week. I don't know that that's sustainable on a short week against a better defense, but I don't know. We'll find out. Let's should we just pop right into Thursday?
Yeah,
because that's a super interesting game, man.
Yeah. Hat tip to the NFL for giving us really good and really bad. So none of this mediocre, forgettable football crap. Just hit both ends of the distribution. And we start with one of those because the Steelers have been pretty bad this year. Their advanced metrics do not support a team with a winning record. There's been a healthy amount of Tomlin voodoo so far this season, and this feels a little voodoo-y of a game, I'll be honest, because they get to draw a quarterback who's making his second start on the road on a short week. And I mean, honestly, like I went through the Levis tape. I had a pretty favorable reaction watching it live. I had a favorable reaction watching some of the specific clips that I saw from the highlights, from Red Zone basically. And then rewatching it, I was like, whoa, buddy, this guy is going to be in deep trouble against a more live defense and in a more hostile environment. And oh no, on a short week, you get a more live defense in a hostile environment. So extremely worried about Will Levis and his ability to produce in a game where he's going to have a pretty aggressive pass rush that will finish. And I think in general, the Titans are not rostered well to take advantage of some of the weaknesses in the Steelers defense. I know Minkah Fitzpatrick probably not going. But Cam Hayward is back. TJ Watt's still playing, obviously. And in general, the Titans wide receiving core, even though you have seen flashes from Deshaun Hopkins, from Nuke, I still think, his ability to get separation against this weaker secondary is probably not really a thing here. So yeah, I think this is probably Steelers or pass, even though we have Kenny Pickett again, like Iron Man Kenny Pickett, forcing his way onto the field, even though he's dealing with meaningful injuries in a short week. I think ultimately this is a pass because of that factor alone. If this was Trubisky going this week, I'd probably be betting the Steelers. I don't understand why Pickett gets to call his own number. He's dealing with a meaningful rhythm injury. He had a knee injury a couple of weeks ago. He's not playing well. They should just get this guy right. Matt Canada and company probably can take advantage of some of the weaknesses of the Steelers defense. I mean, the Titans defense, because they've been playing pretty poorly this season. Particularly the run defense has regressed a lot. And so I guess I've kind of in a long way said, this is probably like a Steelers 20-17-ish win. That's kind of what the market is telling you.
How do they keep getting away with it?
How do they?
It's not a good team. You know what I read? I tried to do and apologies because I've been under the weather. I haven't even been writing the last couple of days. I'm kind of a little behind the eight ball. I'm going to try to do some catching up for Sunday, so I at least have some bets to make. But I haven't really made any bets this week. I've been trying to catch up on news. I'm caught up on mostly on injury news, but like just looking into some of the matchup stuff, which I'm dreadfully behind on. I ran across a nugget where the Steelers haven't topped 400 offensive yards in 55 games. Like I know that might even pop back into like the 11-0 start. I'm trying to think how long we've had Pickett to deal with here.
Not 55 games. Pickett's only started like 16.
Yeah,
he came in this time last year as the starter.
Yeah, we started with Trubisky and then we ended up with little Pickett. So I mean that goes back into like Big Ben ages. It's been an offense that hasn't been winning without this defense for quite a while.
Yeah. And
with some of the injuries on the defense, obviously it's a bit of a problem. I agree with you with the Levis stuff. Doesn't feel sustainable. In fact, that was our profit. I think that's taken money the under. Our profit exchange market for this week was Will Levis 205 passing yards, 238 last week. But on the road, second start has that weird, you have that second start. I hate to say the word voodoo. We use the word voodoo too much, but
yeah, it's not really
some of the things he did last week didn't feel super sustainable. I don't know if you had to take a side. If I had to take a side, I would take the under.
Okay.
It was a like you said, you do a rewatch there. Those two long balls did a lot of work for this team.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Like, you can't just take away two plays and say, without these, he's this. But those aren't things that are just going to happen against a well-coached defense.
He had some super duper high, some big time throws. No question. I mean, Levis, that guy's got a pulse. Like they might have a guy that they can develop into a really good long-term player. And I hope that happens because I would like the Titans to be competitive. I'd like to have some all-time Titans Jaguars matchups in the Lawrence Will Levis kind of era. But he also he was poised in the pocket, but boy, oh boy, was he asking to get destroyed. And now you have a little bit feistier pass rush. I'm nervous. This Titans offensive line is still a massive, massive problem. Andre Dillard does not belong on the field. I haven't seen any flashes from Skoronski yet. The rest of these guys, I mean, they're replacement level at best. I think that's probably why I don't know that I love going to war with Will Levis again. What was the stat?
I'm just not willing to lay points.
Yeah, what was the yardage thing? What was the Steelers yardage thing you mentioned again?
55 games without topping 400 total yards.
Okay, so there was one exception to that. It was a playoff game against the Browns. They had 553.
Yeah, maybe it was regular season.
Before that, you go back to September 20th, 2020, which was the Randy Fitchner era. With Big Ben. That was the year they went out 11-0. That was week 2 of that 11-0 season. They got 400 yards, and I went and found that for the playoff game.
Went and found where I found that clip. There was also the over the last 2 seasons, they are 2-8 in games where the opponent scores 20 points, and in those 2 wins, they had at least one defensive score. It's kind of the same thing we keep seeing over and over, but at the same time. What do you say to what would you price? Will Levis does not throw a ball that has a decent chance of being returned for a defensive score.
I mean, that's
the pressure is going to exist this week. We'll see how he does. Like I'm not going to trust Kenny Pickett with those ribs and lay points in a short week like this with Matt Canada, but just the ultimate stay away game.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Let's stay away then. We'll try to find an angle at halftime to snap what has been a freaking horrific run for my point of view, at least. Andy, you maybe just need to listen to what you're thinking at halftime here. At last, though, we'll have no skin in the game, and that's kind of a good thing.
Yeah, maybe we'll have clear minds.
Yeah, clear minds. Moving on to Sunday morning. Frankfurt.
One last
yeah,
thing
go
too. I might bet both the running backs unders in that
Okay.
one. If anything, if Tennessee can do anything right defensively, it is defending the run. And man, even Warren, who I love, just doesn't have any juice. The run scheme is not good. Like this, it feels like a game where especially if the Steelers are behind, they're gonna have like 80 total yards rushing, and like 16 of them is gonna be on a Kenny Pickett scramble. It feels like a bad running day.
Well, let me ask you a quick question. So would you guess between Mike Tomlin and Mike Vrabel has a better Thursday night football record against the spread? Just out of curiosity.
God, I want to say Vrabel just because he's had so many Thursday games.
Well,
how many Titans Jaguars games have we
I
seen?
think there's probably been more. There's probably been more Steelers games because Tomlin's been in the league forever. Yeah, I got Tomlin at 17 Thursday night games in his career, and I've got him at 8-9 straight up, 7-9-1 against the spread. He has not covered a Thursday night game in three tries. So he's on a little bit of a cold streak himself. Mike Vrabel has had 6 Thursday night games. He's 3-3 straight up, 3-3 against the spread. So nothing of note with either of these very experienced coaches and how they get their teams prepared for Thursday night. We really can't say. So yeah, more good reasons to pass. Let's move on to Sunday. We got early football again. Thank goodness.
Ooh, yeah.
Frankfurt, Germany. Do you know anything about you're an international soccer guy? Do you know anything about the Frankfurt, Germany stadium? Will the roof be open? Will the roof be closed? Is wind a factor? Is weather a factor? What kind of playing conditions are we expecting here? Is this an overfield? Is it an underfield? You know, like what's the vibe on Frankfurt? What is this, Deutsche Bank Stadium?
All I can think of is Saarbrücken. My goodness. 28-1 underdogs today in the German Cup. They took down they were down 1-0 to Bayern Munich, and they scored within stoppage time to tie it up right before half. Nothing in the second half, and then suddenly at 90+4, I think they scored again. 28-1 dog. I was wild that like a 13-1 tie price was going to come in, draw, what have you. But I don't know anything about the stadium. It is worth digging into. Interesting. I know that German winters are generally much more temperate. It's not as bad over there, in November. It comes a little later. I remember, there's like old guys in the town that would talk about the one year that the lake froze or something. Their winters are nicer. Frankfurt, nice city. Don't know much about the weather. We'll dig in. I think it's going to be fine. I think Miami made the right call.
In the city of
Frankfurt, we're fast.
Yeah, in the city of Frankfurt, we're probably going to get a little bit of rainy conditions in the afternoon, evening, 55-ish degrees. Wind. The wind. How do you say that?
Es regnet.
Oh, very good.
It rains.
It rains. Yeah, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and sometimes ice regnet.
Sometimes it's regnet. We don't want to see any schnee.
So there's going to be wind and rain. They're probably going to close the roof. It's got a retractable roof, I believe. At least that's what I read. Don't really have a read. I don't think weather's going to be a factor. So what may be a factor is the travel decisions of these two teams, which is always something you pay attention to when there is an international game. And the Dolphins did what the plus EV teams have been doing, which is flying over well ahead of time and getting your body clocks adjusted to the European time zones. Chiefs have elected to travel later. I think that may explain some of the market support here for the Dolphins this week, as we've seen this get bet down from the look ahead of 3. Actually, the preseason look ahead. Andy, you want to guess what that was?
4.5?
5.5. Yeah.
Wow.
5.5. The 1 week look ahead was KC3, and it opened 2.5, and it's been bet down to 1.5 or 1. Du Haas. The market is definitely in strong support of the Dolphins here, but I have to tell you something, Andy. This would set a new mark in terms of like first time that I can remember that Tua, if they win, first time I can remember that Tua would beat like a marquee team that Mike McDaniel would beat a marquee team. I don't really know why they haven't broken through and really had like a bang performance in a super high profile game. Yes, they beat the Bills last year. Yes, they beat the Ravens last year. Both of those were pretty fluky, lucky wins, but then the Bills one, they definitely did not deserve to lose win early in that season. But for the most part, when Tua is a dog, he does not show up. He is 5-12 straight up, 5-12 against the spread when he is a dog. And it's in general, a little bit of a front running mentality with these guys. They don't play super well from behind, although they have been better this year. And as far as matchups go, like the Chiefs offense is probably going to be fine. They're going up against a weaker unit in the Dolphins defense. I know the Dolphins defense is improving, but there's no containing Mahomes, particularly when he is, using the good plays and scrambling and has Kelsey running amok. So I think the Chiefs are going to get theirs in here. The question really comes down to, can the Dolphins get a lead, and can they put away a lead with their ground attack against the Chiefs run defense that is all of a sudden looking pretty dang havable? Where do you fall in this game? I really don't remember on Sunday what your opinion was here. Is this another one of those free money, Mahomes under a field goal, don't overthink it type of deals?
Kind of. I'd love to dig in a little more if it was just matchup stuff, but like the Bills and the Eagles games, just like didn't really feel like, after a certain point they were going to do it. And, they went down early to Carolina, but that was obviously a tragically bad team. And all they had to do was, we should play the good offense. Let's score like 35 straight points and we'll just beat the shitty team. Doesn't work against good teams. Vodzilla says he's legally required to take Mahomes under 3. I feel that way too. I hate
keep it simple, stupid type of shit.
Yeah, I hate to keep it simple, stupid, but my numbers would agree with that. It's hard to really quantify just how much having a bad wide receiver core matters to this team, because it's a problem. That said, I'm buying Miami long term.
Okay.
I'm kind of hoping they lose this game as well, so I can get better prices in the long term. Because it is kind of a spot where they're gonna get some pieces back. Like you get Armstead and Connor Williams back healthy after that. So both of these teams after this Germany game will head into their bye, which is good for both teams, obviously. But the Dolphins, especially with the 2 injuries in the offensive line and the 3 injuries in the defensive secondary. If they get everybody back in the defensive secondary, this goes from a bad defense to probably pretty good. They have some big-time players if they're all on the field at the same time. And the same thing goes for that offensive line, not only in, I don't know, Tua is bad against pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the numbers will tell you that. It's just a weird sample because they get the ball off so quick. So, like, his pressure numbers are a smaller sample than a lot of people. But, I mean, if you can open up different parts of this offense by allowing him to hold on to the ball a little more, by having a fully healthy offensive line, it opens up the run game even more. Like, this offense is just going to get better. So, I'm a long-term Miami buyer. I just don't love them here, even with the fact that they traveled, in the advantageous spot. It's probably Chiefs or nothing.
Okay. The kind of key thought, I guess, one I want to add to the mix here. I got a bad number. I mean, Dolphins came in, but I don't think it really matters. 2.5, 1.5, not super impactful. I don't think there is a big appetite in the sharp community to get involved in this game at this point. Kansas City, Miami probably closes 1.5. I think we have learned certainly this season that the Dolphins offense is better than we thought it was going to be by some margin, but they also have gotten some outlier performances into the data sample so far. And this is a huge step up in competition in terms of the defense they're going to face. I think the Chiefs defense is top 5 worthy, even in the absence of Nick Bolton, even though there are some soft spots, particularly on run stop. But they are covering exceptionally well, and they're getting more out of the pass rush than I think a lot of us thought was possible. And the defense has kind of been doing their part plus to this point in the season, which to me, I think is enough of a reason that this should probably be at 3 or on the other side of 3. than, kind of more like what we would have expected preseason between these two teams. Because, if you're going to tell me, the Dolphins offense is much better than we thought, sure. But so the Chiefs defense is much better than we thought too. And, Mahomes is Mahomes. He's the best quarterback in football. This is a wild high leverage game for his MVP candidacy. And I think ultimately playing from, the only game state I'm really worried about is if the Dolphins get the ball first, if they have a couple explosive plays, if they put the Chiefs into a little bit of a score deficit, they could probably just shorten this game, right? Shorten the game, run out the clock, and really could just not give the Chiefs enough time to play comeback. So that's sort of the one game state I feel like I'm a little vulnerable in here. And that's why it's not like a super high confidence play, even though, Chiefs under 3 is usually a pretty damn good bet.
Willie Gay not practicing today is problematic. Another linebacker missing would be bad. I don't know what's up. I think it was a back. I think Suma is doing the going to us.
Yeah.
Suma's,
I think his wife is having a baby.
Person.
Yeah. I believe Suma's wife is having a baby, and then he is going to the game, which is a hell of a week for the young man from Germany that we are friends with. So best to him and his family. Moving on to Minnesota, Atlanta. Yikes. Jaron Hall, you got a stomach to take the points with Jaron Hall against Taylor Heineke on the road? I did bet it. I think this Vikings team is live. I think Taylor Heineke, as far as an upgrade over Ritter, while true in a neutral sense, I don't think it's a huge upgrade. And I like a lot of what I've seen out of the Vikings so far this year. Defense is playing a heck of a lot better. Kirk Cousins certainly was kicking ass, and it sucks that he is now done for the year, but it's still a good coaching crew. It's still a really, really outstanding offensive line. And I think you can give Jaron Hall enough in terms of one read type of offense and get him scrambling, get him using his legs, that I think you can be competitive in this one. The Falcons offense is just kind of independent of the quarterback problems, in my opinion. So, and the defense is starting to, kind of regress a bit now that they've, gotten through maybe some easier quarterback play. I don't really know. I just think this is probably should be closer to 3. So I took the 4.5, and hopefully I don't feel like a fool for backing Jaron Hall.
Yeah, probably Vikings or nothing here.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. It's a better coaching staff. So it's a better offensive coaching staff, especially. I'm trying to just figure out, if I were putting together this game plan, it's a road game. It's going to be a loud indoor stadium. If I'm putting together this game plan, if I'm Kevin O'Connell, what is the thought process? Obviously the easiest thing to say, we'll make it easy. He's young. He doesn't have experience. Just give him the easy stuff. And obviously, if you're a defensive coordinator, that's what you're planning for them to do. But man, it feels like time and time again, a bad or young or replacement level quarterback is just so much better if they have a sturdy. Sturdy is not the right word. Dependable tight end. Having that tight end safety valve outside of your 3 wide receivers and whatever you have out of the backfield is such a boon to, I hate to just say shitty quarterbacks. I don't want to lump them all in, but man, it's just young, bad, inexperienced replacement. It's all the same thing to me. So I do think that'll be, something we can lean on. I kind of like, just Hawkinson props. I feel like he's just going to get 10 targets because what else are you going to do? I don't want Jaron Hall throwing deep 6-7 times to this game. I don't want him. I guess we might see some scrambling, but yeah. And then Dan brings up a good point. Dan is quick to point out anytime the Falcons do anything bad, but this is a good one. They just made Will Levis look good. They just sent, a pass rusher to the IR.
Yeah, Grady Jarrett out.
Grady Jarrett out sucks. That sucks because he's a very good player. That matters. This is a good offensive line. That's the other boon too. I said boon twice for Jaron Hall.
There's a lot of boons in this game. Yeah.
So much boons. A whole farm of boons.
A whole farm of boons, right? Yeah.
But having two good tackles, a dependable tight end, and an offensive coordinator that came up under Sean McVay, you could do a lot worse. Yeah, Drake London did not practice today. That's not great. It's Vikings or nothing. I hate betting on Jaron Hall.
Yeah.
And I don't
you watch any of him in the preseason?
A little.
I'll be honest, I didn't see much of him.
Yeah, I could go look at my preseason notes.
I really kind of don't know what to make of him. He was a 5th round rookie. I don't remember him in college. Yeah, I mean, I looked at his numbers from the preseason and I was like, oh, okay, he's got legs. Cool. So that should be able to keep him at least a little bit frisky in this one. BYU kid. I don't know, man. I really don't have a good read on what he'll do.
So he played the whole second half in the first one after Mullins started that. KOC is like the opposite of Zimmer. He does not care about the preseason. 0 Kirk, very few starters. When they had the practices against Arizona, and you see this from a lot of coaches when they get the joint practices and they feel like, hey, we had a couple good practices, then they just don't play anybody in the game with that team later in the week. I mean, that was another one where we didn't see hardly anybody going. And then Jaron Hall played the entire third game, but he did so with the backup offensive line, took a bunch of sacks. They had a couple touchdown drives, but again, it was against backups. That was the Cardinals game. So they had joint practice with the Titans and the Cardinals, and then ended up just going with a lot of Jaron Hall. I don't know. I'm not interested in backing the Falcons laying this many points ever.
Okay, that's fair. I think the fair is probably just like around 3, maybe 3.5. But if you're capturing an outcome where the Falcons win by 3 and 4, I think that's fair. So Vikings plus 4.5 for pass here. Seattle, Baltimore, second of the good games. You have two teams that are poised for a playoff run. Yeah, that is a good thing for Jaron Hall. Two teams that are poised for a playoff run here between Baltimore and Seattle. Baltimore is a tough handicap right now. Kind of splitting the community here, whether this team is elite or not. Some people think fraud. Some people think elite. I am here to just tell you that they're very, very healthy, and that matters. In general, the Ravens have been, this is, I don't know. In general, I think the Ravens have been tested pretty aggressively with their, the situational stuff that's happened to them so far this season with the injuries that they had early in the season, which I think were pretty impactful. I think are kind of muddying up the numbers, particularly on offense for these guys. I think the defense has, since Roquan Smith has been a Baltimore Raven, this is the best defense in football. Better than Browns, better than the Niners. This is it. Number one. And currently number 1 in DVOA. I think that's fine. And I think the fact that Mike McDonald is sort of, is one of the upper tier defensive coordinators in the NFL is a big deal for this game because Geno Smith has sort of a Jekyll and Hyde vibe, Andy. And if you really wanted to put a finger on why he is Jekyll and Hyde, Geno Smith can absolutely thrive against zone coverage, and he stinks out loud versus man coverage. That was no more apparent. You don't even need to go back into the library to prove this out. Just go watch the Browns film. After the Browns kind of changed some things around in their coverage after the first couple of drives for the Seahawks were absolutely useless offensively there until it was desperation time at the end of that game, and they got the win largely thanks to Zach Charbonnet getting some hard yards. So the Seahawks, I think, are overrated offensively, and I think they kind of match up poorly against a Ravens team that's well coordinated and that's pretty healthy. And then on the flip side, I think the Ravens can pass protect well against the Seahawks unit that does not rush the passer effectively well. And I think that opens up opportunities for them to have a pretty balanced attack here, and lots of time in the pocket for Lamar Jackson to find players downfield. Mark Andrews has a nice matchup. You just basically got to throw it away from Devin Witherspoon, and I think you can beat the secondary. So pick on Bobby Wagner, pick on some of the less athletic guys that they have on that D line, and I think the Ravens can win and cover here. I mean, 5.5 is a big number. I get it. This is a tough travel spot for Seattle. Certainly, going across country, not ideal for them. Playing early, not ideal for them. But the key, this is kind of the key. And Sam, you nailed it, Sam.
I was just about to get to this, Sam. This is like the 19th instance of Sam bringing something up that I had queued, just waiting for Drew to finish a point.
Okay. Yeah,
Shatz, I think Shatz pointed it out too with his DVOA. It was the easiest schedule he had by DVOA this year, and I've seen it from a couple different people as well. But Shatz is, I give him credit for having that. And Sam points out they've played the 31st schedule of opposing offenses.
Yeah.
They're about to find out if this young secondary is good, or if they've played a bunch of, middling offenses. Might be the latter. I'm a little reticent to be laying points with Baltimore right now. I try to have a short memory, but Christ almighty, it hurts so bad, Drew.
It really does.
Honestly,
it really does.
A family member.
I'm trying not to say that I made this bet because I'm chasing. I'm just going to martingale the Ravens until they win 52-7 again. I don't know, man. I think the Seahawks defense is a little fraudulent. If there's a fraud in any of the 4 units here, I think it's the Seahawks D. I don't think this is a top 10 unit. I think the fact that they can't really generate pressure is a problem. And honestly, like the fact that the offensive line can't do an especially great job of pass protection at times is an issue, even though they're getting healthier. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of the final thought I had for you, and then I'll kind of cede the floor. The season outcomes here for the Seahawks, I think, are super duper narrow. I think their ceiling is a 6 seed in the NFC, and their floor is a 6 seed in the NFC. I don't think this team can beat the Niners. I don't think they can win the West, but I also don't think there's anyone that's going to run them down and push them down any lower than 6. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the NFC is weird like that. We talked about this a little off the air, and I know it's come up in the Discord a little as well. It's like the 7 seed for the NFC is going to be like an all-time bad. Like, there's a chance it's the Vikings with like Josh Dobbs starting a playoff game, guys. Because I mean, most likely it is a second team out of the NFC South, because the NFC South schedules are just all so incredibly easy. So it does feel like it'll be, whoever can't catch my Saints in that division at this point. So it might be a Kyle Trask playoff game. It could be a Taylor Heineke playoff game. Either way, it's going to be rough. And like you said, there's this weird gap. If the Niners get things right, the Seahawks start losing to better teams like this, it's going to be tough for me to see them, like you said, sliding out of that wild card spot. And man, there's going to be, the Panthers are not dead. Like, they have such an easy schedule if that offense figures it out. It's going to be a tough hang with that 7 seed. Seahawks, though, it's a good enough 6 seed. That'd be a decent game if they get the right matchup.
Yeah, no, I think that will. Lions are in the mix there. Anything but the Niners, really, and that's a good game, right? If the Niners get the 3 seed, we're kind of like, really? Like, I think anything else we're good. Lions Seahawks was a fun game week 2. Saints Seahawks would be good. Anything else?
Yeah, I'm with you there.
But
like the win over the Giants isn't impressive. What they were able to do, against the Bengals wasn't obviously impressive. You lost to that team. They probably should have put up a little more against the Cardinals. Like, it's not been a team I've been super excited, even though that was my teaser leg of the century against the Cardinals, and they made me sweat it. So, I haven't seen this team even doing that. Like, where's the bully nature of like beating up on bad teams?
They don't have that.
Yeah,
They
it
don't
doesn't
have that.
strike me as a team that wins.
They
by
beat up on the Giants, and the way that defense succeeded that day was they were super aggressive with the blitz. Well, good luck against the Ravens in with that strategy. Like you're gonna
that
really
Giant again. Good point by Lipscomb here. That Giants Seahawks game was so weird. How they brought all those blitzes with the secondary, and they sacked him like 10 times.
it was a lot.
Yeah, we just haven't seen that since or
Yeah.
before. All
right, so
poor Dable.
I laid it with the Ravens. Don't love it, but again, martingale Ravens until I get my Arizona bet back. Arizona at Cleveland. Shower farty here, and let's
clear the air on Kyler. He's not playing.
No, he's still practicing. He's still throwing to practice squad players. They're bringing in Jeff Driscoll.
The headlines
it's not happening.
It makes it sound like he's going to play. He's not.
Well, here's
playing,
the weird thing is that and actually, you know what? Let me kind of do a little quick sidebar here. Cleve TA, great NFL mind, great handicapper. Really love his perspective. Anytime he's on a pod or we're doing anything football, I listen, I read, I love it. He's fucking killing me with his take on Gannon and this the Kyler Murray stuff, because he's like, he has an inside connection to that front office and really to that coaching staff, and so he's got a lot more information than the rest of us, and he's just like, man, nobody knows anything about anything. It's like, dude, you know more than anyone else. You can't have that opinion. You can't be like, yeah, nobody, like, look, people really thought they were going to trade Kyler Murray today. We don't know. They're not. They're being extremely obsequious. Obfuscation. The obfuscation. The lack of detail. The lack of anything useful coming out of that front office publicly makes it impossible to read what in the world they are doing. What is going on? Like, some of the statements are so outrageously positive about Kyler Murray in practice, the way he looks, and he's never looked better. Everybody's so fired up for Kyler Murray. We're going to war with Clayton Tune and Jeff Driscoll this week. What? Like, wait, what? What's all this other stuff you're saying? I don't understand. I don't understand. I can't read this. I can't read the tea leaves here. I'm not getting the inside scoop, so I'm just completely blind to what in the world the Cardinals are trying to do here. Like, okay, pretty clearly they expect to start Kyler Murray next week because he has to come off IR by November 9th. And at that point, he will presumably be QB1, not Clayton Tune. Why you would dink this game if you ultimately are trying to win with Kyler Murray this year makes no sense to me. Like, why are you trying to win anyway? Like, you like the players you've got. You're going to build with this nucleus. You don't need a top couple picks in the draft. Okay. Like, I don't really get what your incentives are to push hard with Murray this year and be an 8-9 type of team with winning a bunch of games down the stretch. But it seems like that's at least what Cleve thinks is the vision here. And then you trade away Dobbs. The messaging around Dobbs and why they traded him away was weird too. Like, before they made they benched him, but then they traded him, and it was like, okay, well, that's why you benched him.
That makes sense now.
Like, now it makes sense. But it's just, there's like a shit ton of double speak when those guys are either the people covering the team are miscommunicating it to the lay people like us, or they are specifically saying things that are driving narratives away from whatever the reality is. So anyway, this just goes to say, I don't get the Cardinals. I don't know what the vision is. I don't know what the plan is. Yeah. But I think you're right. It's not going to be Kyler Murray this week. And it may not be PJ Walker. It sounds like Deshaun Watson, or at least according to Mary Kay Cabot, who's been super fucking wrong all year. He looked great his reps in practice today, so maybe Watson comes back.
I would love to see that film, because we heard that before, and then he goes into a game and he looks like he has about 50% of the arm he's supposed to have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Mostly because I don't want to bet. I don't want to bet this game. I don't have a lean here. I don't have a side. This number's probably about right, but if they're going to be squarely in the back door like they were last week. Again, I don't think Clayton Tune is nearly as good as Josh Dobbs. Obviously, they traded for someone
Jeez.
preseason
Yeah.
because they ended up with Tune and what was it Colt?
They
McCoy?
cut Colt McCoy. They were going to do,
Clayton Tune.
they were, yeah. And then they decided at the last minute, well, Tune's not going to work either. So go get us Dobbs. And they got Dobbs from the Browns, right? And now Dobbs is on the Vikings. Ooh, what a weird, just a bizarre.
I know when I saw
here.
that, when I saw that, the Dobbs isn't practicing.
Yeah.
Or Dobbs is demoted. He's not the starter. I'm like, oh, are they gonna trade him? Who the fuck is gonna trade for Josh Dobbs? And then it dawned on me. I'm like, oh no, this isn't. No. And I'm like, no, that's not gonna happen. They wouldn't do that. But I mean, that was so cheap. It was so cheap. I don't blame Minnesota any guess.
Yeah. Was it more or less than what the Cardinals gave up to get him? Did you look?
I think it was less because basically they just did pick swaps in 6th and 7th.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Well, okay. The
teaser game. Moving on.
All right. Yeah. I have nothing else to say about the Browns.
Low total, home 7.5. Throw it in a teaser.
There might be wind there. I don't know. Keep an eye on that.
I'd rather
calling
have
for
PJ
lowish
Walker,
winds
honestly, than what we saw from Deshaun. Would you rather have 100% PJ Walker or the Deshaun Watson we saw in the first quarter of the other game?
Boy, twist my arm. I'd rather have Walker. Yeah. But apparently Watson looks great. So I don't know. I don't know, man. I best of you to even teasing this game. Like you could convince me this closes 10.5. You could convince me this closes 3. Like I really have no idea what is going on here.
If there were a third option, Rob took the Jugs machine.
All right. Well,
Rams Green Bay.
Yeah. The last thing I was just that game is the Cleve TA game because it's Cleveland, Arizona, and I just want to say. If I ever, you got to call me out, Andy. If I ever have inside information and I'm acting like the world doesn't understand something, and it's because I know more, you just call me out and say, "Remember when you got really mad at Cleve for that?" And I'll be like, "Oh yeah, sorry." So, moving on. Moving on. LA at Green Bay. You got to read on Brett Rippon against this vaunted Packers defense.
Minus their second, maybe their best corner. Jair kind of been getting toasty a little this year. I don't think he's 100%.
Okay.
You lose a starting cornerback to trade because you are now a seller. Demirovsky reported today that we're not sold that Love is the future of this team inside of the hallowed halls of Green Bay.
Really?
Apparently that's the report, is that the team is not sold on Love being the future. He has not been good. This is why I have a Packers to win the Super Bowl ticket. I took them at like 30-1 to win I think maybe I have an NFC ticket too. God damn, Andy. But it was always, if Jordan Love is good, there's so many pieces on this offense. He's not good. He just isn't any good. That said, Brett Rippon's a backup, man, for a reason. I don't know how long we're going to be without Stafford. That thumb injury sounds kind of nasty. Could be a few weeks, but they're a team with, legitimate wild card hopes. So they might push it a little. Stafford's always been that guy that will play through a little bit. I mean, he caught a touchdown pass. Excuse me. I think it was a 2-point conversion. Same difference, but he caught that pass with a bad thumb. So yeah, here's the quote. Seth has got us. Gutknecht. I never can say that GM's name right. Brian, that's way easier. Just call him Brian. Brian says he needs more time to evaluate and says these next 10 games are very important for Love.
Wow.
Didn't give him the vote of confidence.
I mean, is Gutekunst even going to get to do the evaluation?
Gutekunst. How does that work? The owners are spread out throughout the Midwest.
I know, but is he honestly a long-term, for sure, secure guy? He has taken apart a dynasty. That's kind of where we stand right now. They came into the season with 1 million young players. This was their gamble, and is anything working out?
Patrick brings up a good point too. Playing through a right thumb injury is a little different. Gripping the ball, super important. It is a key tenet of quarterback.
It's worth noting, this is a repeat injury for Stafford. It's an injury he had to have surgery on. So
remember when Favre had this injury and he got addicted to painkillers?
I do.
That was like 1997.
Tale as old as time. Yeah. But no, it's a bad deal for Stafford and the Rams. Rams are a little snake bitten right now. Yeah. That said, your point is fair about the secondary, and all of a sudden looks super duper suspect. Did you know they're starting a player named Carrington Valentine at CB2 opposite Jair Alexander? Do you think
it sounds like a character from like a steampunk comic book?
Yes, it does. How do you rate Carrington Valentine's ability to cover Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua?
I guess I'd have to read the graphic novel first. But my goodness, yeah, I don't.
This is dude. Did you see that thread, by the way, of all of the college basketball players with the insane names?
Yeah, a million bugs. I love a million bugs.
There was another guy too, which was the left hand one. What was the left hand guy? Did you get to that one? Dude, you gotta go to the bottom of the thread, because there was a good one. It was like anonymous left hand or something insane like that, and it was like literally or well-known famous lefty or famous left hand or something. Anyway, there's some absolutely insane names in that thread, so go enjoy that. And there's a special joke for anyone who remembers Varsity Blues well right after that, which I'll leave that to you to find on the internet. So
sidebar.
Yeah.
Because I watched Famous Left Hand.
Yes.
What do you do when you stay home sick besides sleep? I slept a lot, but you can only sleep so much. I watched some films, and every streaming platform right now is pushing horror because it was
of course
Thanksgiving. It was Halloween. I don't like horror. I don't like gore. I watched Scream because it was like a really big deal, and it's a good movie. But like the Goonies, that's a scary enough movie for me, man. I don't know.
What, with the blender and the fist in the blender?
God, that's fine. You see the tomatoes? So I did watch a horror film after I woke up from like my ninth nap. The Faculty. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Josh Hartnett.
Yeah.
Elijah would that was kind of a banger. I hadn't seen. Oh my God, the soundtrack was just like shit I had on burnt CDs in 1998. I haven't seen any of the Saw movies. It sounds like a bad time. Not betting this game. I don't know how to properly price Rippin because it's the same Minnesota, argument. Hey, you have a really good play calling team. You have a really good coaching staff, and you have really good weapons on the outside. Like if you can find ways to get the ball out there in space, it's again against a very much replacement level secondary piece that they've had to slide in to fill in for Rasul Douglas. I don't know, Rams are probably pretty live to score some points here, even with Brett Rippon. I haven't been impressed with either side of the ball for the Packers for quite a while. So
yeah,
I hope this ends up at 2.5, and I end up with the Rams in the teaser.
You remember that weird game that Brett Rippon started for the Broncos against the Jets Thursday Night Football, and it was like Brett Rippon versus maybe Flacco, and the total was like 30, and they both scored like 40 points. That's the only Brett Rippon knowledge I have. Other than that, I just have completely tuned out.
That's not ringing a bell.
His dad was his uncle was Mark Rippon. Of course, the famous Redskins quarterback who won the Super Bowl 91 or 92 with the posse. Yeah.
Did the R Words win all 3 Super Bowls with different quarterbacks? Have we been over that?
Yes, they did. Yeah,
Theismann,
Doug Williams,
Theismann
first, Doug Williams second, and then Rippon third. Yeah, that's right.
That's kind of crazy, because it was a dynasty. You have to call it a dynasty. You win 3 Super Bowls in that short of a period of time. There's no dynasty that's ever done that where he did it with 3 different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That shit's kind of nuts.
You know what is crazy is that
franchise.
That Washington team in 91 was so good. They won their first 12 or 13 games. They were the last undefeated team. They finished 14-2. They absolutely steamrolled through the playoffs, won the Super Bowl going away. Mark Rippon was outstanding that year. He got 4th in terms of votes for MVP. He got beat by Barry Sanders and he got beat by 2 Buffalo Bills. Jim Kelly got more votes than him, and Thurman Thomas got the MVP.
The Terminator. Oh, I had a buddy in elementary school. Shout out Tim. Huge
and by the way,
Buffalo
Thurman Thomas's stat line is pedestrian by today's running back production stamp. Kind of point of view. He had 1,400 yards, 7 rushing touchdowns, 600 yards receiving, 5 receiving touchdowns. So 12 total touchdowns and 12 total touchdowns and 2,000 total yards. That's like an off year for CMC. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we will say Redskins once in a while when we're referring to the old team, but we'll try not to pull a full Chris Broussard. That was rough, buddy. I don't know what you were thinking there. Not excited. I would lean Rams. I've not bet this game. That was Super Bowl 26 up there in the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome. Tampa Bay at
Brett Rippon's fourth start, by the way. He only started 2 games against when he was on Denver last year, and he only started 1 game on Denver in 2020. So it is a really small sample size. Who knows? Maybe he has.
It sounds good, Drew. A shot. You should do shots on the air.
Oh yeah, for sure. Is that Dayquil? It's gonna keep you up, man. Dayquil? You're gonna be up until midnight.
You go like what Elvis did. You switch to the downers in a couple hours.
You're trying to adjust to California time. I get it.
I am.
I get it. You're doing the opposite of what the Chiefs are doing.
I have not packed yet. Yeah. I have not packed yet. I gotta find some shorts. Is it still warm?
It is. It's not warm, man. It's hot here. All right. High highs today were like 85. We got a Santa Ana wind thing going on. It is dry and hot. Desert came to us, although it's cooling off, and it's going to be a very pleasant, I think, low 70s with the highs at the beach this weekend.
Be laying on the beach tomorrow.
Plan accordingly. Golf shirts.
Texans hosting the Bucks,
coming
off a loss to one of the best young quarterbacks I've seen in the league. Bryce Young. Forgettable performance by Stroud. Kind of a forgettable year, honestly, if you're voting for anything this year. But getting another kind of a very winnable game. They've had the soft schedule as well. This is another one where you're favored, but this time at home. Buccaneers team. What's the Evans status right now? Let me check.
As far as I know, Evans is fine.
Not traded.
Oh, that's what you meant. That he's still on the Bucs.
Not traded somehow. No. I don't know how they didn't get an offer that was good enough for that. I'm sure several teams had to be thinking about it. Everybody knows he wants off, but somehow did not get traded.
I don't understand it either. Bucs vision is also a team I just throw my hands up.
It's a weird forward-looking vision for this team. I don't have strong feelings either way on this one. Probably continue to struggle a little bit in the running game for Houston. Mm-hmm. I don't love them with the lead. Buccaneers second half.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you know why that makes
this especially probably high, man.
You know why that makes especially good sense, Andy, is because for whatever reason, the Buccaneers pass protection has been really, really good, even though they have a bunch of especially in the middle. Yeah. And you know who's like one of the worst pass rushes in the NFL is the Texans. So it's not like the Texans are going to be able to put this one away and get off the field if they have a lead in the second half. This is a game that's probably going to be decided in the later stages. That's ultimately why I didn't lay the Texans here, even though I think the Bucs are a pretty poor team. Baker Mayfield out there with a pretty meaningful.
Yeah, I like them coming back.
Yeah, that could.
I don't think the Texans can extend drives against a halfway decent front seven.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, the pass rush isn't really all that impressive. So
yeah,
Buccaneers second half is kind of a put it in your pocket and look for it.
Yeah, I get why the Texans are a little bit of a hot side this week, but I'm not
Mass says if you like bad running, you love this one.
That is a very good.
There's going to be so many
by Mass. There's going to
be so many runs that you're going to be so mad about if you bet either team.
Or the over. If you bet the over in this game, don't watch it.
2nd and 15 off guard counter. Let's go.
It is a tough hang. All right. First to 17 wins probably. I don't have anything else on this one. You want to move on? And do we have?
Yeah, I kind of like that under. I think 40 might even be a little high, but
Okay.
my totals are in the turlet. And yes, Houston does take money every week somehow, some way. The Patriots, 3.5 here.
Yeah, and if you wanted to see this game in Foxborough, you would get tickets from Ticketmaster or something, right?
No, I don't have to do one today.
Oh, we're good today. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
well, I was
you didn't tell cleared.
Me. That's cleared. Okay, because I was gonna make some Ticketmaster jokes about it after the Breeders' Cup.
You want to go see? Give them some shine.
You want to go see Washington USC? Because like basically right after the Breeders' Cup, one of the better college football games is going to be going on at the Coliseum just down the street. So
we can go to the Coliseum.
Yeah, you've been to the Coliseum? No, you never been to LA, right?
Did you get your? I've never been to LA.
Yeah.
Did you get your
physical
tickets?
Yes, I've got them in hand. Yeah.
It come in a cute folder.
Yeah. It's it's a little folio actually. Yeah, that's what
I think they give you you don't get your
lanyard. You got to get your lanyard. You get your lanyard at the gate. Yeah, that's right. Yep, you got it. All right. Washington, New England. Patriots are 3.5-point favorites. What? Whoa. They're going to be without top 15 wide receiver Kendrick Bourne. Their offense has struggled against bad teams. Commanders' defense is bad, and they just fire-sailed 2 really good players who are young. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden the Patriots' offense is going to look dynamic here. This is commies or pass, and I kind of can't believe this is on the other side of 3. Where are you at?
Yeah, I don't see where I'm even losing Sweat and Chase Young. It's not like this defense has taken some huge step back. It wasn't good to begin with them. So yeah. I don't know like that we should be adjusting, numbers strictly based off that. It is a highly volatile team that goes with how Howell goes. Yep. And with the injuries to the Patriots' second and third levels, Howell could have a good game. I'm not going to pay to see it. I'm not, like you said, I'm certainly not laying it with the Patriots on the other side of a field goal here. But this would be kind of if I were to bet this, let's say it was $100 bet, I would not take that and put it on commies plus 3.5. Maybe half of it or something. The rest would all go in little increments on, you go 25% of it on commies minus 3.5, commies minus 7.5.
Yeah.
They're either going to look great on offense, or it's going to be another one of those days where Howell's getting sacked by guys who get one other sack in the other 16 games. Like people that have no business getting quarterback pressures, because it's just like the guy's been running around back there for 9 seconds.
Yeah.
So
Josh Uchi's gonna single-handedly make his.
Surprised he didn't get moved too.
No, he's gonna single-handedly make his sack total from last year in this game. You think?
Some people have sacked Howell this year, so it was going to be it was going to be Howell or nothing. Boy, I'm not excited about this, but
no,
yeah, it might be some cute little props on Commanders minus 3.5. Probably get 230, 250 on that.
Yep, that sounds good to me. All right, well, Chicago at New Orleans, we have a Tyson Bagent game on the road again. He looked pretty useless in LA against the Chargers, and now this is a better defense. The Saints they have a bunch of guys who were limited participants in practice. I hope everybody that is on that LP list ultimately was just getting some vet rest type of stuff, like DeMario Davis matters, and the tackles matter. I think the Saints are going to be at full strength here effectively. The Bears continue to invest in their defense for reasons unknown. I know that they're at the point in their franchise rebuild where they just need good players, and that's why they're doing some of the things they're doing. But this seemed like a pretty easy move to dunk on, considering you traded a top 40 pick for a guy that is going to be a little bit of a difficulty to keep on your roster in the future.
I am going to die if he just signs with the Falcons in the offseason now. And Drew, you brought they can tag him. We finally got to this, but you kind of want to save that tag for JJ. If you don't sign Jalen Johnson to some now what this has done, and I'm sure if we're figuring this out, Jalen Johnson's agent has figured this out. Like his price went way up now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Our ask last year was cheap. Should have done a deal with us last year.
He said out loud, like, I'm not looking for to reset the market. He should now, because if they want to keep him, they might have to tag Sweat, and then they can't tag you, so you kind of have him over a barrel. Like, he should absolutely up his asking price at this point. I'm not sold on polls. And yes, this is teaser porn. Way better. Like getting a home team at 7.5 rather than the 8 or 8.5. Getting a team with a great defense, like you said, a little scary with some of the injury news. Hopefully that improves Thursday and Friday, but
yeah,
it's still Bagent is very limited in what he can do. This is going to be maddening to watch as the Saints win, 21-10 on 7 field goals, all from inside the 18-yard line.
There's signs of life there, man. I don't think it was just the opposition that got them into the rare air of 38 last week. Like, they're starting to kind of get an identity, I think, a bit. They're tacking away from some of the shitty plays. I think that's kind of the key. But yeah, I mean, I made the joke already, and so apologies if you're hearing this for the second time, but I laid 7.5 with the Saints because I think realistically they just have to score 8 points, and that's good. I don't think the Bears are scoring in this game. Just a brutal environment, and a very, very good defense, well-coached defense, and a defense that actually has the personnel to really, really hurt the Bears. Like, if I was going to tell you, like, well, what if they just do a million screen passes to DJ Moore? A lot of Moore is going to shut him down. I'm not worried about DJ Moore in this one. Like, honestly, your wide receiver one's up against a good CB1. Even if Fields was available for this one, this was always a Saints spot. And I think the Saints are very, 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 very bettable for the AFC South right now.
Yeah.
That price makes 0.0 sense to me.
I did this like 3 weeks ago at the same pricing.
I don't understand how we're at.
I'm tempted to go back for more.
Saints, honestly, the Falcons have 3 or 4 losses on their schedule still. That's my sincere opinion. The Saints have 1 or 2. This is as long as Derek Carr is healthy, and even if he's not, if it's Jameis Winston, I think the Saints win the South, and I think that should be kind of in the -1. My numbers put it in like the -140, -150 range. So I'm very bullish Saints South. And unfortunately, there are very few places in the offshore space that I can get a bet of size down. So I've been thinking about having friends in the desert try to go to a Circa for me and bet that.
Going to the kiosk.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm teaser, lay it. Saints, Bears team total under, Saints team total over, Saints to win the South, Saints to win the NFC. Don't go that far. That number's not quite big enough. But yeah, I'm already sitting on some Saints South, so I've laid this already.
Okay, cool.
Indy, Carolina. Was supposed to be another rookie on rookie. Instead, we get Gardner Minshew, who is another volatile quarterback, trending more towards the bad side of volatility. I guess in this one, I'm just kind of thinking about how likely it is that Young has a good enough day to keep him moving, because he moved up. Obviously, he moved way up the rookie of the year numbers, but he's still behind like Aiden O'Connell, which makes me sad. I need you up at like 15-1 next week there, Bryce. I need you to have a big game. I think it might take a couple weeks to fully integrate what Brown wants to do there. I don't know. It kind of depends. How do you feel about this Colts defense?
Yeah, so the Colts are funny because they play super fast and their defense is really susceptible to everything. So they get into these game states where Minshew has to be a hero, and That hasn't worked out super well for them. Panthers are an offense that desperately needs one of those type of games. Like they would, like if the Panthers offense looks good in this game, that's your signal that the Colts defense is 32nd, right? Like if they can make these guys look good, then you're doing something wrong here. I think ultimately the Panthers win last week. It was like pulling teeth. This offense is pulling teeth. This offense is it lacks fluidity. It lacks creativity. I don't understand why there wasn't any difference when we changed.
It looked
coordinators. Looks the same.
It wasn't fun.
No, not great. So yeah, I thought hard about taking the Panthers here and ultimately just said forget it. Like I don't think the Colts are good. I don't think there's a huge difference in these two teams. This should probably be priced around to pick them, but one of the theses of betting the Panthers last week was the offense was going to look better with the regime change, and it just didn't. So forget it.
Yeah,
44.
There is probably one way I'd consider betting the Panthers here. I don't know if you guys have heard
parlayed with the over,
the 6-point teaser.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind a home underdog in those. I've just stuck to my guns where I'm playing all of them. There are ones I like more. Those get thrown in more combinations, but last week was not great for teasers, but we've had enough really good weeks this year where teasers are up. So,
yep. Okay.
Kind of a find out week about the Panthers. Somebody made that comment earlier that they're not completely dead for the playoffs, despite only having the one win, but it needs to happen in games like this if they want to even get close to having that sort of sniffing the playoffs late in the season.
Yeah. Weird that the Texans closed 3.5 and the Indy's 2.5. That tells you that the Texans are 1 point above Indy right now. Kind of wild. Anyway, Giants LV. The shower fartiest of all the shower fart games this week.
Fartiest of the farts, man.
AOC versus DJ. Is that your read?
Can you remember? Yeah, it sounds like. So this is kind of fucked, right? Like, oh, not cleared for contact. Not cleared for contact. Like, oh man, we got to start Tommy DeVito. Your neck feels better, son. In there, like
okay. You're good.
Suddenly he's better. If I was going to say something nice about the Giants, their pass rush has gotten progressively better. They have some good pieces. Sound like they tried to trade at least one piece of their secondary, were unsuccessful. They traded some extra that they had in the middle up front and got a good haul for it. If I'm out on polls, and obviously I'm out on Dable, I still will never forgive him for winning Coach of the Year. I'm very much in on Shane.
Okay.
Like, every move so far has been pretty good.
Pretty shrewd.
And I don't want to hold the Daniel Jones contract against him. That was such a tough spot. I don't know what you do there, but it's super damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I like the trade they made. I think they came out ahead on that one. This is a good defensive line. This has been a good pass rush. The offensive line is starting to get healthy. We're seeing good reports. And you're going to need that because Max Crosby is a bit of a menace. It'll be interesting to see what kind of effort level you get from Devontae Adams here.
I'll criticize Shane about one thing.
Which one's that?
He's in the long list of dudes that could have gotten Lamar Jackson and just elected to stick with what they had.
I wonder what the actual asking prices were.
It was 2 first. There wasn't even really. It was 2 first, and the Giants had their first was late because they went so far in the playoffs. So their first wasn't even that valuable last year. I don't know. I didn't ever even hear there was buzz that the Giants might be interested in Lamar. And boy, oh boy, would that have been a massive upgrade. And there wasn't anything else they really could have done. Like there was no other free agents. There's no quarterback free agents as popped this year. Everybody's fallen flat. There's been, the draft choices all went to teams that needed them at the top. Maybe one of those teams takes a shot on Daniel Jones instead, and you can get one of the top 3 quarterbacks. But that's playing with fire when you're picking that late in the first. So, their choices, I think, were to stick with Daniel Jones or go get Lamar Jackson, and they made the wrong choice there.
I wonder if maybe they got told to pound sand. Like, hey, it's 2 firsts, but your firsts suck. Like, we don't want a late first. You need to throw in a second or something.
The type of tag they used took the negotiations out of it.
Yeah, it was a transition tag.
It was literally just, this is the price. Come and get it. And I think the Baltimore could have matched or some kind of match contract or something. They had some final thing they could have done, but you had Baltimore in a bad spot where you could have put
triple stamp.
You could have put the price in a place. Maybe it wasn't impossible with the way that the cap was set up.
This is a good point by Patrick too. Lamar wouldn't have lasted 4 games.
That's a very fair point.
Put that evil on anyone's knee, Patrick.
Okay. Anyway,
the talking point is here. I cannot believe they fired a coach mid-season.
Holy crap! They did it. Mark Davis, all that. You know what? He's probably flush with cash from the Aces winning the WNBA championship and selling all that merch and having all those sold out games for the Aces. So he's like, you know what? I can stomach another $60 million. See you later, turd. I guess. So a couple of thoughts on the Josh McDaniels era and the Josh McDaniels now second stint as a head coach. Who could have seen this coming, Andy? First thing this guy did when he got there was immediately stick his finger in the eye of the good players. You remember the first practice and him screaming at guys, and then followed up with the Hall of Fame game where he ran Josh Jacobs into the line 10 times, and you're literally like, what are you doing, man? What is you think this is going to endear you in the locker room? And then just consistently kind of being a weirdo about information and all this stuff. I mean, this was telegraphed long ago, the way he was conducting himself as a head coach. And I just, how many more Belichick guys are going to act like fucking lunatics when they go get a head coaching job and it doesn't work? I'm losing count. This is absolutely wild that he comported himself this way as a head coach, and he was absolutely right to be fired. The Raiders are absolutely right to go with AOC. Jimmy G was miserable on Monday night. Miserable. You cannot use words that correctly characterize how off he was in that game. It was awful to watch. And
he's just not out. There's no way he's healthy. You look at that box. You look at that box score, and it's 500 to 150 in yardage, and you're like, oh my god, they kicked the shit out of him. It's he left 200 yards and touchdowns off the board. But maybe they don't win, and I know Detroit screwed up on the end of a few drives, and they should have had some more. The real victims in that game were overbetters.
Yeah,
because both of those balls were he beat the ever living shit out of everybody in the secondary. All you have to do is make that throw.
Yeah,
he wasn't right.
Also, every time the Lions brought a blitz, he just did this tap dancing happy feet thing and just took a sack or threw it away. It was awful watch. And so right move to AOC. You know what was the wrong move, Andy? The GM signing Jimmy G in the first place. Who could have seen that coming? That this was a bad decision. You put Mr. Glass behind this offensive line, and he's in and out of the lineup with injuries, and he's ineffective when he's in. A shocker. Guy only ever succeeded under Kyle Shanahan, and you think he's going to work for you? Okay, good luck. This was the right decision. Mark Davis, you're figuring things out, man. Good job. Well done. You and also, you know what is kind of nice? Nice. Two other kind of nice secret things about this, right, Andy? Number one, the guy they put in charge has big time Dan Campbell vibes.
I like him already. I fell in love with the guy today.
And you know who could use that? A team that is absolutely hated the shit out of their old coach. Could very much use a guy like that.
This guy has Rich Biscaccia vibes.
Yeah, sure he does.
Just give him, cheap. You could have got him, guys.
You could have got him for cheap. Yeah. This guy seems to have a pulse. It may not work. And he's
willing to cheat.
Yeah,
this guy he pulled the mini Pete Carroll.
Oh.
He was when Arizona State was getting in trouble, he's like, I'm going to the NFL.
Yeah. And hey, look, this may not work out for Antonio Pierce. This may not work out. Certainly may not work out in the short term. They're elevating a guy who's a quarterbacks coach from the Adam Gase administration into the offensive coordinator role. So this could be a very rocky.
Thought they were going to be. I really thought it was going to be Scott Turner. Scott Turner's been an offensive.
He's calling plays for a long time. He could step in and do the job, no problem. Like there's going to be growing pains, no question. Like I mean, this is clearly Giants are past for this game. And I think the other reason to look for Giants in this game, by the way, the Raiders defense was on the field for 40 minutes on Monday night. They were out there forever because the offense was so ineffective, and they played very, very hard. But you know what? They got their asses run over in the second half of that game by Jahmyr Gibbs. Like that, Giants can absolutely replicate that. And like, as hard as you want to get these guys, much as you want to get these guys fired up and try hard, and like the effort for the Raiders defense has always been there. And Max Crosby is a legitimate, bona fide blue chip. Like, this is still a very tough ask to travel home after that hard of an effort that was that big of a loss, and now get ready on a short week for an opponent that's getting an offensive line healthy and is getting their QB1 back. So I think the Giants probably win this game, but boy, is this an uninspired take.
No bigger regret than not going. Basically, all I had was over 71 or whatever for Gibbs. No alts, nothing special. Like that was like my only take on the game was, well, like Gibbs should have a nice game. This has been a bad rush defense. And I fell asleep for the second half, but I think he had like 35 at half or something. Like yeah, I'm like, he's like, he's on pace. Like, hopefully I'll get this bet. And you look at that box score, like, what the holy shit?
The Lions were winning time of possession. The Lions were winning time of possession to the degree that the Raiders defense couldn't get their feet under them. It was off. It was a tough watch.
Yeah, Giants money line. Ish.
Okay.
Not an exciting bet, but
Blah. And
then probably like it's not a young, fun running back like Gibbs, but
Sakova.
Like, man, this team can't stop a cold up front right now.
All right, man. Let's get to the meat. Let's get to fucking business here.
Sam pointed out, the Raiders team total is 20.
That's too high. Yeah,
probably a little high.
That's too high. Although, I'll be honest with you.
You know how many times they've hit their team total this year, Drew?
With the Raiders?
Yeah.
I think 0. They
0.
haven't scored 21 once, right?
No.
Yeah. I also would say, though, that I learned a valuable lesson being very, very sure that the Raiders were going to destroy the Colts last year after they hired Jeff Saturday, and Jeff Saturday put an intern in charge of the offense, and thinking like, wow,
we don't talk about that game.
Like, this is going to be one of the biggest mismatches in coaching history. Like this is ridiculous. Well, the Raiders lost, but so there is a whiff of that. So
Antonio Pierce is no Jeff Saturday. Whatever way you want to take that.
Let's get to the main event. These last two games are absolutely hot. I will cede the floor to you to start with this handicap here. But I think when we talked about this one on Sunday, the key question was really just like, is it fair to have a power rating of the Eagles meaningfully better than the Cowboys? Because the home field advantage isn't as big in a game like this as it was in a game against the Dolphins, in my opinion. And so 1.5, 2, this basically is telling you that to get all the way to a flat 3, that the Eagles are, yes, they are better than the Cowboys. And I can't get there. What is your read on this matchup, on this game? And did you make any bets?
I'm probably not betting this one. It's annoying because I like to get involved in these. I mean, especially amongst the other late games. This is the gem, obviously. This should be a primetime game probably, but I'm with you. I struggle to, picture Jalen Hurts being 100% fine with that knee injury. But at the same time, it's still just 3 at home in a divisional game. Like, it's close enough. It's almost like what you're saying with the power ratings between these teams. Like, not a big difference between a 1 and a 3 here. Because I make this lower. I don't have the Eagles a full 3 better right now, or a full, whatever you want to call it, full 1.5 better. I've had to downgrade them a little in a few spots. Their secondary is definitely susceptible to a lot of things. I mean, we've seen lesser teams with lesser passing attacks find weaknesses, especially just little gaps in the zone here, and you attack the right cornerback, and things are going to go quite swimmingly for you offensively. But at the same time, it's still just a divisional game sitting at a field goal. I guess I'm kind of fine with the number.
Okay. I like the Cowboys here. I like the Cowboys to win. I think this is sort of what I've been waiting for a while. This is
kind of the one scary part for me too.
Well, think about it this way:
where are you with? Well, Salvion McCarthy's play calling right now.
Forget about it. Who cares? Okay. We're backing Dan Quinn against an injured Jalen Hurts. That's really, I think, the matchup.
That's a huge advantage, but that's it. Take advantage and score.
I think that's really what it comes down to. The puzzle pieces of how the Eagles can attack and how they want to attack, what they're good at, don't fit well with the Cowboys at all, right? Like the Niners was hand in glove, like this is what we like to do, you are screwed, right? Like it was easy to exploit the Cowboys with all the speed and all the short stuff and the scheme that the Niners had. I don't see that with the Eagles really at all. And when it comes to the matchup of Cowboys offense versus Eagles defense, the scheming, the system isn't clearly better for the Cowboys, but the talent is, in my opinion. I think the Eagles have been getting by with a couple of plus performances defensively that have been based on playing with the positive game state and having their front four and mixing combinations of their front four to generate pressure and create chaos. I don't think that works against the Cowboys team, and there's an entirely 50% of this, game state outcomes here where the Cowboys are playing from ahead. And in all of those outcomes, I feel pretty damn good about the Cowboys putting away this lead.
Though.
Okay.
They have a bad, just any metric you want to use, they don't have a good running attack. I'm not super comfortable with the Cowboys with the lead. Just whiling the game away. Whereas if let's say we're both right. Dan Quinn is a huge mismatch. We've seen this. I mean, we just talked about an example where Jeff Saturday didn't win another game for the rest of his career as a head coach. I'm just assuming he never had coaches again. Sometimes just things break wrong, and you have a broken play here and a long scramble there, and maybe who's the cornerback who has all the pick sixes? Duran.
Oh yeah, Bland.
That's Duran Bland. Maybe a piece gets hurt there, and if the Eagles have a 10-point lead in the second half, I feel very strongly that the Cowboys are maybe not, at best case, pushing on that 3.
Yeah.
Whereas the Cowboys with the lead, I don't have them as a terribly good running offense. Last week, a lot of it came down to just kind of putting themselves in such a good game state. The scripted portion went really well. Then they got a defensive touchdown, and then the game was out of hand. That was off a bye, and granted, that was against a good, good team, good coach. But that game got out of hand in a hurry. They put themselves in a spot where it doesn't matter if you can run the ball or not. You're up by 4 scores. Honestly, the Rams look kind of good in the second half there at times.
Okay.
I don't like Pollard as a bell cow. Pollard and Zeke, as much as people love to argue about that when they were together, that was like the crocodile and the little bird that cleans his teeth. It was
symbiotic, is what you're saying.
A symbiotic relationship. So I'm passing on this one. Definitely looking at the second half here, depending on game state. But I'm kind of in the boat where I don't hate the Eagles coming back here.
Okay.
How do you feel about the Eagles' run game against this defense?
It's been spotty, and I think part of the reason I'm not super excited about the run offense for Philadelphia is because now you take a lot of the Hurts scrambles out of the picture. I think.
Yeah.
It's been a weird. It's been a it's been a really bizarre trying to grade the Eagles because the offense has at times been pretty clunky, and people are forgetting about it because they looked great against the Dolphins at prime time. Everybody remembers that. They came back last week. You had a first comeback in as many. I can't. I think Jalen Hurts had one comeback against the Colts last year, and that was like pulling teeth, and that was largely with the running backs' help. And he had to come back against the Commanders last week. But other than that, like Jalen Hurts, as at a deficit, is pretty rough. And the Jets game is kind of the one I want to key on because
it's a similar defense.
It's a similar defense, and all the other defenses the Eagles have played this year have turned out to kind of stink. And so this is a big step up in class where they're gonna feel some of the challenges of really having successful offense against a good defense. And the bumps and bruises the Eagles have felt throughout the season, I think all of that matters. I think CeeDee Lamb and company can absolutely thrive against this Eagles secondary. CeeDee Lamb, anytime he lines up in the slot, like it feels like even if the running attack for the Cowboys on first and second down with a lead is not successful, like am I really sweating 3rd and 8 and I see CeeDee lined up in the slot? Not really.
He's a problem.
Yeah, I think that in general, the offense can sustain enough here with the talent advantages that they have to score. And the defense can create chaotic plays without question. They may be able to help here. Jalen Hurts, again, with the, trying to come back against the Jets, was more than happy to throw some pretty miserable passes. I think that could be a factor. So, Cowboys, realistically, I just think this game should be closer to a pick 'em. If you want to have the Eagles as like minus 120 on the money line, fine. But I don't think that they should be this high. I played some plus 142. I think this closes in like the plus 130 range. I think if you want to just stick with Cowboys at 3, that's fine. But I don't know that this closes 3. I think this could move off. So Dallas is for real. I think they're primed to have a statement game here, and I think this is to a degree selling the top on the Eagles, at least a local top on the Eagles. All right. Sunday Night Football is go ahead.
Fine. I'm on market.
Okay.
I'm excited to watch that one and probably bet the second half, or at least something live. Kind of depending on how both defenses look. Sunday Night Football, Bills at Bengals, and boy, just from a fan of the NFL and a person who likes to watch good quarterback play, and a person who's going to have to watch Brett Rippon and Jaron Hall and Taylor Heineke and Aiden O'Connell, Joe Burrow getting his swag back could not have happened at a better time. And I'm not a superstitious man.
Yeah.
I'm not a believer in signs or sigils or anything like that. But my wife she loves buying sweatshirts. Some women buy shoes. My wife buys sweatshirts.
Yeah.
Because she's always just cold-blooded. Has like 1,000 sweatshirts. Oh, Andy, I bought a new sweatshirt. You know what it says on it? It just says "Burr," like you're cold. I'm like, oh shit. Am I betting the Bengals this week?
I think so.
He looks pretty good, and I think we need to return to our full-ass priors on this one.
Yeah.
I know we're not the only ones that have talked about this, but it's been a tough team to get a number on. Because you come in with priors, then Burrow is obviously not 100%. And now we're at a spot where he is probably back.
And he's against the defense that's depleted.
He is, I know Rasul Douglas was a nice add. I don't know if he'll be ready or acclimated to the defense they're calling. That is a tough position to move into a new spot. It's a bad spot for the Bills, man. You needed to play the Bengals like 3 weeks ago. I could make cases that this should be bet up to 3. Josh Allen is not 100%.
No,
I don't think
he's not
I don't
practicing.
think his I don't think his shoulder's quite right. I think he
Nope.
toughed it out and looked great at times, but he's not 100% here. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Like the only thing I can say nice is that Buffalo's had 10 days. That's the only advantageous spot here. Otherwise, this is a defense that's the injuries have ravaged it, and man, Chase and Higgins, that's a pain in the ass for you.
Yeah, this Buffalo defense made the Tampa Bay garbage rushing and screen pass offense look good, which is not a positive thing. The Bills are depleted. These two teams are this is fascinating because I think the Bengals need to be at their preseason prior offensive rating, which means this is a top 3 offense. I will argue a top 2 offense. Okay. The Buffalo Bills defense should be nowhere near their preseason rating because they have lost 2 of their most important pieces, 3 of their 5 most important pieces on defense. That said, this should be 3.
That's it. That's all.
Yes, that's all of it. You want a little more? The Bills continue to play not to lose decision making.
There are a lot of places that are up to 2 on this already.
Okay, well, it's come down. Like there's been Bills money here.
I know. I don't quite understand. Let's do that. Let's go devil's avocado. Let's flip this because I think we're kind of in lockstep here.
Okay.
Make a case for the Bills.
I mean, the Bills' case is that their offense clicks and they have their best game of the season, and the Bengals can't keep up. The Bengals can't quite keep up. That's the only case for the Bills. Josh Allen, the reports of his demise were greatly overstated, and he comes out and just absolutely freaking
got to be 100% fine.
He throttles. The Bills scored 38 points, and the Bengals can't quite hang. Now, that assumes that Big Lou makes no adjustments at halftime, which is an assumption that I wouldn't stand behind. But maybe the Bills can score 31 points in the first half. They score a touchdown every time they touch the ball. Who knows? I don't think that's realistic or likely, though. There are definitely some questions and issues with this Bills offense that I think need to be answered. And really just like the Sean McDermott lack of aggressiveness when you have Josh Allen is just really, really tough for me to wrap my brain around. The entire second half of that Thursday night football game against the Bucs, where they just let the Bucs hang around. I was like, what are you doing? Like the fact that they weren't able to orchestrate a win against the Patriots the week prior was like, what are you doing? The fact that they had no ability to make a comeback against the Jaguars when the Jaguars left all those points in the first half in London was like a bad sign. Like I worry that that kind of the pressure of the moment and the closing of the window is kind of it's wearing on Sean McDermott, where he's not making good in-game decisions. And by the way, he was never really a guy that was great at making in-game decisions, and kind of known for letting teams into into games they shouldn't have been otherwise. So I will say the best coordinator in this game is going to be Big Lou for the Bengals. That matters. I think the Bengals, the fact that offensive line was so effective last year against the Bills in the running game in the playoffs, I would expect that you have a pretty balanced attack here for the Bengals. The fact that the Bengals are introducing new wrinkles and new ways to use Jamar Chase definitely advantage Bengals, because the Bills, haven't really seen that stuff, don't really have a plan already cooked up for that stuff, and may not have the personnel to even match up with Jamar Chase in this game. So lots of reasons here, I think, to be in support of a Bengals on the side. And, I'd like to see the Bills ultimately. I definitely would like to see the Bills in the playoffs. I hope that they don't struggle to the tune of sliding out of a very competitive AFC. But I think I think this is a bad matchup for them. And
hanging around.
If you didn't watch last year's playoff game and you don't understand why this is a bad matchup for the Bills, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, and that is to Sam's point, they did give up some big yards last week. The Bengals defense is middle of the pack at best, a little better against the pass, but that was weird. Obviously, the turnovers were massive for the 49ers, and probably the only reason they lost. They were moving a lot of it was chunk plays. Everybody had a 25-yard play, it felt like, at least. There was a lot of bigger pass plays. So I guess that's kind of what you're going to need to do if you're Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it kind of interesting to poke around in that Cincinnati defense. It's hard to judge it early in the year because of the weird situations they were put with the offense not playing at the level they should have been, and then last week having to just play a really good offense. Somebody brought up Allen rushing yards. That'll be the Profit Exchange prop for the Sunday night game that we'll have up on Profit Exchange. Will be just the head-to-head rushing yards, Burrow versus Allen. I think a lot of that'll probably come down to just who's healthy.
Yeah.
Both of those guys have – that's kind of the
X factor.
That's the telltale sign of – well, it's the telltale sign of, like, how healthy are you? Are you going to run 6-7 times for 40 yards or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because when you're Kent State.
Yeah. You the one thing I guess I will say about the Bengals, which is kind of interesting, the through line, and this might be repeatable, I don't really know what Lou is doing with his safeties and linebackers, but he's making whatever kind of coverages they're running in the second half of these games. The quarterbacks are just holding onto the ball forever, and that's giving their pass rush, which is not great, times to get home, and it's turning a lot of quarterback plays into turnovers. And I think the Brock Purdy picks from last week were a good example of that. I think there's, Stafford had the same kind of issues against this defense. And if Josh Allen is anything, he is turnover prone. So that's another kind of check in the box.
What is the weather like too? Because everything we're saying is just like, why isn't this total cresting above 50?
Well, I think that the reason is there's a non-zero chance that the Bengals are playing with a lead and they shorten this game on the ground. And at that point, that this is going to be just a wow sweat. Right now, we're looking at 54 degrees, 8-mile-an-hour winds, very, very low % chance of precipitation. So it's going to be fine conditions. I don't know.
Kind of like this over now.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I'll sort it out before Sunday.
Yeah. I feel like if you like the over, first half over is a better angle, just in case the Bengals can
deal with big lose.
Second half.
Yeah. There's been a few games like that in the last few weeks where it's been, there was
like, this is cooking. We're going.
Oh yeah, it was 41-point first half. Didn't good over 49.
Was that Chiefs Chargers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Andy Reid second half unders, I think, are undefeated, right?
It is like 8-0.
No.
Big Lou.
All right. Well, fun day of games. I guess one other thing to add to see if it'll push you over the edge on betting Dallas. You ready?
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts, when he has a deficit of 3 points or more at the half in his career. You want to guess what his record is against the spread and straight up?
1-6-1.
No. He with a deficit at the half of at least a field goal. 2-13 against the spread, 5-11 straight up. So he is not a comeback king, for what it is worth. He is a play from ahead guy, and the Eagles are a play from ahead team because their strength on defense is their pass rush and must pass situations.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's where I'm at. I'm just going to bet whoever's leading at half.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, I dig
Fine with that.
I dig that. All right. Well, good pod.
Wait, it's like waiting for the New Hampshire to report who voted and then deciding who to vote for president and then voting for Kanye anyway.
You like New Hampshire as your bellwether?
No. It's near that one town that has like 14 people and they always report like immediately.
Yes. No, they're the first ones. All right, man. Well, enjoy the games this week.
Clean it up, Dan.
Let's
Dixville Notch. No, we're just talking dirty. Yeah, enjoy the Sunday. Have fun. We'll be back halftime tomorrow. Halftime Sunday after that, doing the full recap. If you have anything we think we missed or any nuggets, niblets, ideas, thoughts, sneaky angles, or anything else, you know where to find us on the Twitter, in the Discord, or just leave it in the comments here on the YouTube. We'll figure it out. So enjoy it. Enjoy your Wednesday night. If you listen to this later on, leave a review. A 5-star review goes a long way. A thumbs up on the YouTube goes a long way, and we'll catch you guys later on. A bunch of them. It's kind of like a incremental gains.